Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick preview and prediction for Efe Ajagba versus Frank Sanchez. Now this fight goes down on the undercard of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. And I have to say, I am really looking forward to this fight. Should be a really good matchup. Obviously right now there are a lot of prospects in the heavyweight division who are looking to get to the next level, and to me, these guys aren't fighting each other regularly enough. Obviously recently we had Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce. That was a really good matchup. But you know, there are not enough of these unbeaten heavyweight prospects fighting each other, in my opinion. And when these sort of fights do come around, they always do excite me. So yeah, credit to both guys for putting it all on the line. It's a risky fight for both guys. And in my opinion, both guys have a legit chance of winning. I think this one will be very competitive and it could go either way. So yeah, really looking forward to this fight. But let's break it down, let's briefly jump into the tail of the tape ever so briefly. And we shall start with Efe Ajagba. He has a perfect record of 15-0, 12 of his 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Frank Sanchez also has a perfect record, 18-0, 13 of his 18 wins coming by way of knockout. Efe Ajagba is listed as 6'6", with a massive 85-inch reach, whereas Frank Sanchez is listed as 6'4", with a 78-inch reach. So Efe Ajagba has a 2-inch height advantage and also a massive 7-inch reach advantage. And ultimately it's up to Efe Ajagba to make the most of those advantages going into this fight. It could certainly play a factor, but both of these guys are orthodox fighters. Efe Ajagba is listed as 27 years old, if you believe that. And Frank Sanchez is listed as 28 years old, if you believe that. That is one thing about both of these fighters. Over the last couple of years, I've seen so many people question whether their ages as they are listed are actually legitimate. But nevertheless, moving on from that, let's briefly break down what I believe each guy should do to stand the best chance of winning, and then I will make my official pick and prediction. So yeah, let's get into it. I guess I shall start with Frank Sanchez. Now to me, Frank Sanchez out of these two is the more naturally comfortable boxer. You can tell that Frank Sanchez has far more amateur pedigree in comparison to Efe Ajagba. Frank Sanchez is much better on his feet, much more fluid with his movements, has a better punch variety, and all in all is just technically better than Efe Ajagba. And I think there's a couple of ways he can actually win this fight. First of which being is staying away from that big right hand. Efe Ajagba is quite one-dimensional. He's a power puncher and a little similar to Deontay Wilder in a lot of ways. You know, it's all in that straight right hand with Efe Ajagba. And it's up to Frank Sanchez to take that away. And the first way of doing that, in my opinion, and the more likely way in which he will do it, is by boxing and moving, right? Keeping those feet moving, keeping that head off centre line, changing levels, throwing feints, and, you know, sticking to that jab and make Efe Ajagba fight on the front foot and chase the fight and look for that big right hand. Frank Sanchez, if he does that, can't really afford to set his feet for too long, because Efe Ajagba's a guy who likes to use that lead hand to basically touch you, doesn't really commit to the jab all that much. He'll touch you as a rangefinder, and then he'll look to follow up with that big right hand. So, you know, half of the battle for me with Frank Sanchez is taking away that lead hand of Efe Ajagba, because when Efe doesn't throw the lead hand, or when he doesn't paw you with it, he finds it really hard to fire that right hand. He's not great at firing the right hand when he's not thrown a jab beforehand or pulled his left hand out. So he needs to take away the lead hand of Efe Ajagba, and I think the likelihood of him being caught by that right hand is a lot less. Efe Ajagba's not a great jabber, in my opinion. He can throw a decent jab, don't get me wrong, but he's just not consistent with it. I've not really seen Efe commit to the jab with consistency and regularity, so yeah, I mean, Frank will need to box and move away, obviously, from Efe Ajagba's power hand. pop the jab from body to head, keep Efe Ajagba moving and keep him turning, keep him off balance basically. It's a pretty simple game plan for Frank Sanchez. I do believe he's got the legs to do it. I think he's got the jab to do it and the boxing acumen to do it. Ultimately, I think that is the easiest way, or the most likely way, Frank Sanchez wins this fight. Problem with that, obviously, is doing that for 10 or 12 rounds, however long this fight is. You know, one split in concentration could lead to you getting knocked out. So if Frank does do that, then he needs to be switched on 100% of the time, because Efe can definitely punch. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, he'll need to be very careful if he decides to box on the back foot. No lapses in concentration. The other way Frank Sanchez can win this fight, in my opinion, would be more risky, but I think, again, it could prove fruitful for Frank Sanchez, and that is actually to push Efe Ajagba back. That's another thing I realise about Ajagba. He's not all that great at fighting on the back foot. If you watch his fight with Iago Kaladze, for example, when Kaladze for a few moments actually was throwing at him, getting close to him, Efe doesn't really throw back if you're up close and throwing. He's not great at shortening his punches, and he's not great at punching on the back foot. Look at the Kaladze fight. Look at the Aaron Demarizen fight in parts of that fight. Look at even the Michael Wallace fight. If you go back and watch that fight, when Wallace was on his chest throwing punches, all Efe was really doing was covering up and not really doing anything, to be honest. So Frank maybe could surprise us all and be a lot more aggressive in this fight. Try and stick to Efe Ajagba, throw punches, keep busy, and push this guy back. One thing about Frank Sanchez, traditionally he's quite, I wouldn't say negative, but he's quite conservative with his work. He'll box behind the jab, he'll take counter-punch opportunities when they arise, but he won't really get too aggressive. But when he does, he actually can throw decent combinations. I have seen Frank Sanchez go up from body to head, hooks to the body, hooks to the head, uppercuts through the middle. He can throw decent combinations when he wants to, so, you know, there may be times in this fight when Frank Sanchez might be better off pushing Ajagba on the back foot. If Ajagba's getting close with that right hand or tagging him, maybe at that point change it up and try and stick to Efe Ajagba's chest, work and push this guy back. So I think that's another way in which Frank Sanchez can have success in this fight, is actually being a bit more aggressive than we're used to seeing. But ultimately, you know, it's down to Frank Sanchez to figure out his game plan. I do believe he's more versatile. I do believe he's got more natural boxing ability, and it's up to him to put it all together on the night. As for Efe Ajagba, you know, he's far more limited in comparison to Frank Sanchez, but he is physically superior. He's taller, he's got longer reach, I think he's heavier, and he certainly hits harder. One thing I want to see from Efe Ajagba in this fight is a much more consistent jab. I want to see him throw that jab with more regularity and really commit to it. You know, throw it from body to head. Give Frank Sanchez some different looks, because the worst thing you can do against someone like Frank Sanchez is to give him one look, because if he gets used to that and gets in his rhythm, he's one of those guys that's going to be, it's going to be hard to break that rhythm once he establishes it. So I want to see Efe utilise that jab with greater regularity, and he needs to vary it from body to head and obviously work behind that jab. The straight right hand is his bread and butter. So maybe Efe needs to be the guy who's actually throwing a few feints, trying to draw a lead on off Frank Sanchez, try and make Frank Sanchez commit, and then throw that right hand, because when that right hand does connect, it does cause, you know, some serious damage. Efe can definitely punch. He does throw that right hand really well with good technique, but he needs to find more ways to set that punch up, more ways to disguise it. And yeah, he just needs to be more subtle with his setup game, and the way he can do that, in my opinion, is being more consistent with the jab, more varied with the jab. Don't just pour it out and look for the right hand. Commit to it. Go from body to head. Sometimes pour, sometimes really commit to it. Change levels with the jab. You know, things like this. And also, he needs to try and maybe draw the lead on on Frank Sanchez. You know, I was mentioning the lead hand control that Efe Ajagba likes to use, kind of thing, to set that right hand up. Maybe he can try and play that game with Frank Sanchez, make Frank Sanchez comfortable, you know, maybe not throw too much early on in the fight, try and get Frank Sanchez comfortable, overconfident, and when he commits, then look for the right hand. But ultimately, when I think about this fight, when it plays out in my head, the way I look at it is, when Frank Sanchez isn't getting hurt or isn't getting dropped, I think he wins most of those rounds based on his boxing ability, unless he completely goes into a shell. Maybe he gets caught early on, gets hurt, and is a lot less committed to his work. If that happens, maybe Efe Ajagba can actually win rounds. But you know, as long as Frank Sanchez stays on his feet and doesn't get hurt, I would imagine that he wins most of these rounds. And when I think of it like that, it does make it hard for me to back Efe Ajagba. Efe Ajagba in his fights at times has looked a little too one-dimensional and a little ordinary at times. Go back and watch the Jonathan Rice fight. Jonathan Rice is a very capable journeyman who's awkward, who can move his head, but there's not much coming back with Jonathan Rice. And Efe Ajagba was struggling with that style against Jonathan Rice. He was struggling to find a home for that straight right hand. And Frank Sanchez can do exactly that, but actually he's got more offensive ability than Jonathan Rice. He's got a better jab, he's got better legs, he's got better defense. He can do what Jonathan Rice did to a much better level. So when I look at this fight, while I certainly think it's possible for Efe Ajagba to knock out Sanchez, I just have to lean towards Frank Sanchez and his more versatile skill set and greater amateur pedigree, and even the stylistic clash in this fight I think favours Frank Sanchez. So my official prediction is Frank Sanchez on points. I do believe it's a hard fight to call. Ultimately, both of these guys are quite unproven. So it's a hard one to call in my opinion. I can see it going either way, but my gut feeling is Frank Sanchez wins this fight on points. Again, I can see this one going either way. I can see either guy winning. I can see Frank Sanchez winning on points. I can see Ajagba knocking out Frank Sanchez. I can even see Frank Sanchez stopping Efe Ajagba. The only outcome I would be somewhat surprised at is Efe Ajagba on points. But nevertheless, this fight has me thinking, it's got me doubting myself. And to me, that means it's a good fight. Really looking forward to this one. But my pick is Frank Sanchez on points. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy. Peace.